Ow!
I'm going to tell him. Don't you do it. No, I want to tell him. I really got to say something. Don't do it. I want to tell him, please. I just want to say it. I'm going to say it. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. I'm going to do it. I'm spiritual, but not religious. Ah! Boo! Get him off. Hurry up. Get him off the stage.
Ugh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unscripted Faith. Spiritual, but not religious. Is it a thing? Can it be a thing? Can we all coexist together? Can that coexist together? Why can't we all get along? Why can't we all get along? All right, spiritual but not religious. You know, this seems to be kind of a younger thing. I mean, I don't remember really hearing too much about spiritual but not religious. I think it's probably in that last, maybe 5 years? 10 years probably. All of a sudden, this spiritual but not religious movement has been happening. And you know what? I'd like to throw my hat in the ring about it. Because you know why? Because your boy here, your boy, I've been on both sides of the aisle. Both sides of the aisle? Get it? No pun intended. Pun totally intended. I've been on both sides of the aisle. Seriously, in my life, I have been on both sides of the aisle. And it's funny, you know, because I think this is a battle that real people from Earth, some of us, face, right? We want to be spiritual, but we also have to be religious. And how do we make them both work, right? So it's kind of funny when you think about it because, you know, as a father now, and I think this is kind of what, you know, the religious side of the aisle says, right? This is what they're thinking, because this is how I would think, right? So it's like, you know, my son comes home one day, let's say he's like, you know, a teenager, whatever. Comes home and he goes, you know what, Dad? You know, I think I'm spiritual but not religious. Interesting. You just want to go to church. Get your ass in the car. Let's go. We're going. Right? And I think a lot of people use that as an excuse for the spiritual. When we look at the spiritual but not religious people, it's like, no, you just don't want to go to church. You just don't want to follow the rules, you rule breaker. Huh. Yeah. Right? And I think that maybe has a little bit to it. But, you know, when somebody's like in their 50s or 60s, even though like, I'm 43 right now. So it's like in my 40s, it's like if I go, you know what, I feel a little bit more spiritual than I do religious, it has a whole different meaning, right? And that's just because I think I've had more life experience, I've questioned more, I've searched for more, and now I have a better reasoning. But you know what, it's funny because I guarantee you, everybody watching this channel, which is like nobody, maybe one or two people that, you know, the algorithm suckered into watching. Yeah, that's right, the algorithm got you. You got to listen to this idiot, right? Will the algorithm ever get me? I don't know. It's gotten me, though. I've gone into the black hole on some serious stuff. Oh, yeah. Like Chris Langan, CMTU, it's just like, whoa, calculus could prove math. Get out of here, man. No way. Anyway, so I think that's a huge thing, right? Is that we lump all these spiritual but not religious people into this category of they just don't want to go to church, plain and simple. And it's easy to spot it on YouTube. Man, I went on YouTube the other day and I just, you know, spiritual but not religious. And it's funny because all the videos that pop up, most of them, you can tell what side of the argument they're on already, because the hippie is going to be definitely spiritual but not religious. And then you got the preacher, and the preacher's definitely going to be telling you that you can't be spiritual but not religious. It just doesn't work, because he has to tell you that. Because how could he not tell you that? Because that'd make him a hypocrite, right? So it's kind of like, it's so easy to just spot this stuff. So you know what, I kind of want to come from both sides on this, through my own life experience, right? And, you know, it's funny because then you have the spiritual, but not religious people getting back across the aisle, right, to the religious people. Because the religious people are like, you just don't want to go to church. You just don't want to follow the rules. I know. I know it. And then the spiritual people are like, so, like, you're telling me that, like Jesus, man, like, you know, you're telling me that, I mean, he spent like 40 days in the desert fasting. He prays in gardens, teaches people on the hillsides. Like, you're telling me that, like, that guy's not, like, spiritual? Like, he was religious? Like, he went into, like, the synagogues and, like broke the rules in the synagogue to prove points. You know, I mean, the guy, he picked grain on the Sabbath. Like, I mean, I think you'd have to be a spiritually sound person to pull this stuff off, you know? And it's like, well, okay, now they got a point. You got to give them one. That's a good one. You know, that's how I thought about it. It's like if you ask me, reading, you know, hold on a second, get that little book. Right, so if I pick this up, flip through the Gospels, right, I'm reading it, trying to understand it, and I had to throw Jesus into a bucket. Not to say I would throw Jesus into a bucket, or I had the capability to throw Jesus into a bucket. But if I had to, like, just be like, okay, you got to make two choices. Was Jesus, like, spiritual, or was Jesus, like, really religious? Now, I know he came to fulfill one. He didn't come to abolish anything, but I'd be like, oh, I got to walk the plank. If I don't get it right, what am I going to do? I mean, I think I would have to throw him into the spiritual bucket. And it's funny, because when I look at what Jesus taught us, right, and it's like a faith, right, it's just synonymous with Jesus and his teachings. Like, there's a reason why it's all about faith. So if we had to create a spiritual bucket here and a religious bucket here, what goes in which, right? So when I look at belief and I look at faith, and I look at a lot of things that we believe in but we can't necessarily prove. So God, spiritual bucket. Faith, nobody knows your faith. That's just something between you and God. We're going to throw faith, I'd probably throw it into the spiritual bucket. Yeah. You know, anything divine inspiration, I'm probably going to throw that into the spiritual bucket, right? So we got a few things over here in the spiritual bucket. Now, we got the religious bucket. So what are we going to throw into the religious bucket? And, you know, for me, it's like, okay, what am I going to throw into the religious bucket? Okay, show up here at this building at this time. Okay, that kind of goes into the religious bucket. You know, kneel when you're supposed to, stand when you're supposed to. That goes into the religious bucket. You know, you can only have certain things after you've completed certain courses. It kind of goes into the religious bucket a little bit, right? And when I think about that, I go, okay, in my own personal life, I spent a lot of it on the religious side of things, right? Like, religion made me really good at being religious. It made me really good at being religious. I could show up when I need to show up, right? It's a holy day. Let's go. Be here. I'm there. This sacrament, I'll do it. I'll take it. So on and so forth. You know, but religion didn't really do anything to make me good at the spiritual side of things, right? And when you look at that, it's like, whoa, you know, like, the way I see it is that, you know, Jesus kind of opened the realm, to, like, the spiritual component that we should have, you know, inviting God into your life, faith in God, you know, opening the portal to God, infinite potential, infinite intelligence. It's out there. We could tap into it, right? And I get that a lot from Jesus, right? And, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, I realized that religion really wasn't making me a good spiritual person. I go, what's more important on planet Earth, right? In our lifetime, whatever years we have, probably your own personal relationship with God is going to be pretty important. So what do you do to foster that relationship with God? And I think a lot of that comes in your own independence and in your own independent search and in your own independent seeking of truth, right? Because nobody knows your relationship with God. It's impossible. Nobody can know it because it's between you and God, right? And then faith, right? So if faith is a spiritual component of God and of truth, then how do you make your faith stronger, right? And you make your faith stronger by using it. Yeah, by leaps of faith. That's going to make my faith stronger because now I discover things that I never knew about myself, right? And I started to think about that. I was like, man, there's so many spiritual components to life that I just never learned because I was always so focused on being so religious that it completely went unnoticed, right? And I don't think, I'm just going to throw this out here, this is the pitchfork cue. Let's get them. Let's get them. I know it's coming. But I don't think institutionalized religion does a really good job at allowing people the time to figure out the spiritual component of their own lives, right? At some point, you just got to go out and do it, right? And I've learned that through my own experience because, I had some stuff happen in my life where I'm just I was just a spiritual mess, right? It's the difference that I've noticed, right, is really when it came to God. My spiritual side to God is God isn't going to make it easy. He's going to make it hard to see what you're capable of, right? But then on the religious side, it's always I just need to show up. God's going to be here at, 9 o'clock on Sunday, right? But I never get to learn this part about God because I'm always focused on this part about God because this is what he wants. And is that really what he wants? Or does he want you to be out there actually taking him along with you while you figure this stuff out? So I understand both sides, of that aisle, right? But here's kind of how I debunk both, right? So I think that a lot of the major spiritual stuff that you need to discover in your life, which is primarily your faith, God, that whole bucket, that takes some time to do. And a lot of that stuff comes from the unknown past that we take in life, right? And unfortunately for me, I needed time in order to figure that out, right? Even though it was wrong and it was bad and I shouldn't do it, I did it anyway because I just felt I had to, right? Faith to listen to that little voice. But the religious side does give us structure. So anybody that says, in my opinion, I'm spiritual but not religious, well, what part of religion aren't you about? What is the part about the religion that you don't like, right? And if we use myself as an example, so even though I disagree with a little bit as far as the practices of the church, I'm still spiritual and I'm still religious, right? So let's pretend I just don't even go to church anymore. I'm just done, right? So if I'm just done with the church, does that just make me spiritual? Because I don't actually go into a church. What do you think? Right? Am I just lumped into now I'm just I guess I'm spiritual but not religious because I just don't go to the church. So for me, the way I look at it is like this, right? We need a framework and we need experiences to teach us what we don't necessarily agree with, right? So imagine, like, is it possible to be born spiritual without even knowing like what spirituality is or what it means to be spiritual? Like at some point you have to learn what it means to be spiritual so you can be spiritual. At some point you need to learn what it means to be religious so you could be classified as religious. It's like my son, man. It's like, I mean, is he born like just spiritual right out of the gate? Like, could he be the next reincarnation of like the Dalai Lama? Well, I know that's not possible. I don't think he is, but you know what I mean? So it's like, so for me, I look at it like this, right? And I hope I'm making some sense, right? I think a lot of the spiritual, but not religious people, right, are in fact religious, but they just don't agree with the rules, some of the rules. So they automatically have to pick a side. Like, I'm spiritual, but not religious, so I'll just jump into that pool, right? And then you have the religious people that don't deviate because they've never wanted to, because maybe God has just never called them to deviate. Right? You ever thought about that? Like, maybe God calls everybody different? I know, weird, man, weird concept. Right? So they're in the pews looking at you like you're just an idiot. What's so hard about following these rules? Right? And I'm going to make some other videos about that because you know what? Between you and me, it's almost like religion naturally selected me out of it with like the decisions I made in my life. Like every single major decision that I've relied on when it came to like God and my faith has taken me away from religion and thrown me into a completely different category that I had to find a way to make the decision from. It's like, you know what, God, I think this is the best I can do, so let's go for it. I think this is what, I'm kind of getting that feeling that this is the way I need to do it, or this is where I should go, or this is what I should talk about. You know what I mean? So I think it's just, it's kind of one of those where it's like, where do we find the middle ground? So me, I'm spiritual because I thought that was a huge part of my life I wanted to figure out, right? But I'm also religious. So how am I religious? Like, I don't go to church, or let's just pretend I don't go to church. But what do I follow? I follow the teachings of Christ, right? Jesus. Amen. So my religion is following the truth and trying to understand the truth that Jesus taught us. So I'm spiritual, right? But my spiritual framework comes out of the religious foundation of Christianity, right? For you, that might be Buddhism or whatever it is you believe, right? And I think that's where we get hung up. That's where the hang up is, because if you don't walk into that building, then that means you're spiritual but not religious. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true, right? There's nothing wrong with being an independent seeker of truth, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be an independent Christian. I just feel that we automatically just lump people into these categories based on whether they walk into a building or not, right? And I think that's something that we both need to consider. Everybody needs to consider. Spiritual, not religious. So what are you, like, are you spiritual atheist? Like, well, where are we going with that? How are you spiritual but not religious, right? So I could dedicate my life to following Jesus' truth, right? And if I do that, that makes me a Christian. So my religion is Christianity. So I'm spiritual, but I'm also religious, but I'm just religious in a different way, not your way. So if I don't walk into your building, right, does that make me a bad person? Does that make me spiritual but not religious? And I thought about that a lot. I think that's pretty interesting. And I think that might be a sticking point where we get hung up because, it's like, if somebody says, I'm an independent Christian, then automatically it's like, oh boy, this guy doesn't go to church. We got to watch him. Guys, this guy don't go to church. You know what I mean? He's bad. And it's like, no, it's not that. Maybe I've just interpreted things differently, but I'm a Christian, man, I swear. Look, I got the Bible with me. I carry this sucker around. I carry it around. I underline it. I make notes. I'm trying to figure it out. Right? So I'm a Christian. You know, so anyway, I hope this helps. I hope this brings some clarity, into the situation. It's like, spiritual but not religious. And I think that, like I said before, you have to know what spirituality is from somewhere. There has to be some sort of guiding principle to that. And I think a lot of the disagreements are coming not based on like the truth and the spiritual components of it. It's just based on whether you walk through a door or not. Like we're arguing is if you walk, which door you walk through on a Sunday. And I think it is possible to be spiritual, but be religious in your own way. And if being independent and taking the chance to read that book on your own and hold yourself accountable, I don't think that's a problem. And I don't think you're lumped into a category that says spiritual but not religious. That's all I got for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope my audio is better, man. I made another killer video and the audio sucked. Brutal. I was like, oh gosh, there's no way I could redo it. Like I can't do it. It won't be the same. So I just had to let it roll. Yep, the guy with crappy audio, the algorithm's gonna get me, man. They're gonna like I'm not gonna share your video. But anyway, if you guys like these videos, like because you like it. Subscribe because you want to. Or subscribe because of what an idiot I am. If I make you laugh, what a donkey I am. I don't know. But anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to see what we're going to talk about next time. Should be good. Remember, keep the faith.